Joining me here now is one of the best in the business for College Game Day on ESPN. One of 4 players to win both the Heisman Trophy and Super Bowl MVP, with Roger Staubach, Jim Plunkett, and Marcus Allen doing the other. But he's the only one to do it at the greatest institution of higher learning that's ever been created, the University of Michigan. Desmond Howard. How are you, Desmond?
Hey, Rich, I'm doing well, and thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of yours and your show, so I really appreciate this opportunity. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, come on, Desmond. You know, you're welcome here anytime. Before we get to the Michigan stuff, let's talk Steve Sarkisian first. You had a very strong statement yesterday on Twitter about how USC has handled that. I'll give you the floor on your thoughts on how USC has handled this situation, Desmond.
Well, Rich, you know, when the story first broke in August, and you know, you get this coach, and you know, he released a statement that I mixed alcohol with meds. So, okay, if you wanted to buy that, cool. But first of all, these are the red flags. Why would a head coach going to a rally full of boosters, cheerleaders, players, people of that nature, why would he even think to sip alcohol before he goes to that event first? Second of all, he's out there dropping F-bombs. They have to pull him off the stage. They release a statement saying, we're going to remove alcohol from the locker rooms. Second red flag. He gets on television. He says, oh, well, the players made me do up-downs as punishment. Pat Hayden didn't punish him publicly. I said, it's clear to me Sarkisian has a problem. You guys may not be willing to admit it, but it's clear to me. That's his deal. His boss, Pat Hayden, needs to suspend him and do what's right for that program and for those kids. Everybody just sat there and laughed it out. Oh, yeah, the guys made him do up-downs. And they let him coach. I thought that it was a huge failure on behalf of Pat Hayden as the athletic director, as his boss, to not attack that issue head on at the moment that he had the opportunity, as opposed to saying, I don't know, he said, we're going to deal with something, some private plan, and it involves counseling. Anytime you hear somebody say it involves counseling, that means there's a problem that someone has admitted to. But I'm like, when is he going to see counseling? The season starts like next week. So is he going to see counseling in between games? So to me, the whole thing was a farce. But now he dropped back-to-back home games when he was a double-digit favorite, and he didn't go to practice or whatever the situation was yesterday. Now Pat Hayden wants to take action, but it's you know, I won't say it's too late, but it just makes him seem like what happened in August that you didn't do what you should have done as an AD, that now we've dropped some games, you know, he didn't come to practice, and all of these other reports are starting to come out. Now it's almost like your hand as an athletic director is forced to make him take a leave of absence and then seek some real legitimate counseling, which should have happened back in August, in my opinion. Now, you know, the interesting thing, Rich, is now you see all these people jumping on that bandwagon about Pat Hayden didn't handle it the appropriate way back in August because, you know, it's kind of like popular to do so now. But I was out on that limb in August by myself. I took heat for it, but I didn't care because I knew what I was saying was true. I couldn't believe people just like, you know, waved everything off like it was no big deal.
Desmond Howard,
like, and my whole argument was, hold on.
Yeah.
How about there was a player, though? Say if that was Cody Kessler out somewhere drinking, dropping F-bombs, someone got him on tape, he's going to be suspended for at least the first game at the very minimum. And how come we can't hold coaches up to a higher standard than we do players? So it turned into an avalanche on Pat Hayden. Now you got to deal with it.
Yeah, I know. And it's Notre Dame week, too. That's all they're going to be talking about on NBC. It's Notre Dame week.
It's the South Bend.
I know. And if not the football aspect of it, obviously, it's just that it's going to be the direction of this school and the athletic program and the football program. That's all going to be fodder for discussion during a big game on NBC this weekend. That's all. And you're going to be talking about on College Game Day all day as well.
True.
Where is College Game Day this week, Desmond?
Hey, man, check this out. College Game Day this week
Yes.
is going to be in Ann Arbor,
No
Michigan.
way. Does that mean that? Because that must mean because Michigan State has got national title hopes, right, Desmond? Right? Is that why?
No, that's not the reason why, my friend.
Why?
No.
Why else would College Game Day in the middle of October be at the University of Michigan, Desmond?
Well, because Michigan earned this trip. Michigan has played such great football up to this point that they've earned the right for College Game Day to be up there. I'm talking about we got undefeated Florida playing LSU. Game Day is not going to be there. No. We're going to be up there in Ann Arbor with Michigan versus Michigan State in the Big House.
What has Jim done? What has he done to turn things around so quickly, Desmond?
To be honest with you, I think that he's holding players accountable. He's brought a no-nonsense attitude where he's not interested in being anybody's friend. He's interested in being your coach and coaching you to get the best, the most potential that you have out of your athletic your athletic body. You know, as a player, I think that a lot of these players they were used to coaches just kind of, I don't want to say coddling them, but not holding them accountable for what they were doing on the field. And he's going to just bring every bit of potential that you have. He doesn't care what it takes. And I think that Coach Harbaugh is a guy who he's very demanding, but he's fair. I would say that. He's demanding, but he's fair. And you're going to know where you stand with him. And I think that the most he also brought a great staff with him, too. He has a staff that's littered with coaches with NFL experience. And a lot of these young players, that's one thing that they respect. If you can put coaches on your staff who got next-level experience in their resume, then players really expect that because, you know, however far-fetched it may be, a lot of them think they're going to play on Sundays. And so they're going to listen to a coach who they believe can get them up to that next level. So not only does Jim, have that on his resume, but there are a lot of coaches on his staff who used to coach in the NFL too, where a lot of players. So I think that made it easy for players to buy into whatever they were selling.
Now I know you're an Ohio guy, just like Charles Woodson, who had 2 interceptions of Peyton Manning yesterday. For crying out loud!
Really?
What do you think about that, Desmond?
Oh man, I tell you what, Charles is the dude is timeless, man. He's timeless, and he shows some athleticism. I mean, Charles dislocated his shoulder a couple of weeks ago. Now he's out there 2 picks on Peyton Manning, so he's just a phenomenal athlete. And but that's kind of how we build them down there in Ann Arbor. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know that. But I'm sure fans in Ohio would say, well, where you're from, Ohio, he's from Ohio, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But
they say that.
Yeah, I know that. So that makes, obviously, the Michigan-Ohio State thing, we'll leave that for later on in November. There's still a lot of football to be played. But this game against Michigan State, I mean, what was it like with Bo for that week? I know Bo was there you were there for his last season, Desmond.
Yeah.
What was it? What try and explain for people what this game means, certainly based on the rankings and what it could mean for the Wolverines.
Yeah, it's a big game. I mean, when I was in Ann Arbor, it was the biggest game because of the rivalry, in-state rivalry. So it wasn't as big as Ohio State, but it was a notch below that because it was in-state, and we had those guys who a lot of players played against them in high school. The recruiters they recruited against Michigan State for in-state talent. Even though, as we already said, Bo and Moeller and those guys, they were able to go to Ohio and then get some elite talent. But as far as just in-state recruiting, it gets no bigger than the Michigan State game.
And just saying that it's a notch below Ohio State, that really ticks the fans in East Lansing off. I mean, that just really because them versus Ohio State is a tick below Michigan State. Michigan, the fact that we're like, yeah, in-state, get it, but that's Ohio State, So you have to understand, that really gets them so upset, Desmond, upset.
Yeah, you're right.
But they're all frightened. All Michigan. We had Ryan Khalil in here from the Panthers the other day saying all the Ohio State guys are concerned. They're growing concerned, but they act like it's not. They act like they're not concerned, Desmond.
They're very concerned. Listen, the whole conference has been put on notice. They understand. Listen, they got that guy in Ann Arbor. He can coach his butt off. There's no doubt about that, because they understand he's doing what he's doing with Brady Hoke's guys. See, Jim Harbaugh is the type of coach, he'll beat you with your players or with his players. It don't matter, because he's going to out-coach you. And there are very few coaches out there who can do that. And that's why I don't want to make a hard left, but that's why I respect a coach like Bill Snyder at Kansas State so much, because he does a lot with little. He out-coaches people. All of the talk is always about, you got to get this top recruiting class. We got to get these recruits. When does it come the time where a coach just out coaches someone else? He out schemes his opponent. When do you start earning your money for that part of your job? And so that's what Jim Harbaugh does, and his staff too. They're going to out scheme you. They're going to out coach you. He's doing it with Brady Hoke's guys. So these guys in the Big Ten, like, wow. Yeah. You know, he's a hell of a recruiter. He can recruit to Stanford. Wait until he gets his own players in Ann Arbor. Oh, my God. We have been put on notice. You think Urban Meyer's not watching what he's doing up there in Ann Arbor? Like, whew, this dude and his staff, they for real. We're going to have our hands full.
I only have a couple minutes left with you, although Jim did go to Iowa to get his quarterback in Rudock. He didn't take one of Brady Hoke's guys who are still there. But I totally get what you say. Real quick, the story that Florida's Will Grier suspended for the rest of the season for a positive PED test. Where does this leave Florida's chances to continue going?
Let me talk about Rudock right quick.
Sure.
Rudock was an average at best quarterback at Iowa. So it's not, it's not like he got Everett Golson, a guy who had like an undefeated season under his belt,
right?
And, went to national championship. He did get a guy who was average at best, who's playing, very well. I think that's big news for Florida. Man, it's just, I think that, you look at the offense, and I have to give Coach McElwain a tremendous amount of credit, because I thought that he's been able to just, with smoke and mirrors, get these guys to buy into what he's selling and to believe in themselves. He doesn't have the talent that he wants up there to run the type of system he wants in Gainesville yet, but he's still making it work. That's why they're undefeated. Will Grier and those guys, they bought into it. To me, this is a huge loss for the Florida Gators for Will Grier to be suspended.
Last question for you. Leonard Fournette, a lot of people think he's going to wind up in the Downtown Athletic Club where you were in 1991 hoisting up the trophy. And you, as we all know, had an NFL career where you're one of the few people walking the planet who can say I was a Super Bowl MVP. A lot of people think that Fournette's already shown enough to NFL scouts to be a top 5 pick and should sit things out so he doesn't become like Nick Chubb or have a Todd Gurley type offseason or a Marcus Lattimore-like path. Where do you stand on that subject, Desmond?
Yeah, Rich, I look at it like this. There's a lot of football left to be played. I want to let this young man get through this season first and see what happens at the end of this season. If he's healthy, if he wins that stiff arm trophy, he has a decision to make. And I could not blame him if he sat out and just trained and got ready for the NFL draft. I couldn't blame him if he decided to do that. I really couldn't. But let's see how this season ends for this young man.
All right, Desmond. I appreciate it. Last question for you. What does happen in Ann Arbor? Not the heart, the head. What you're going to be saying on game day, college game day.
Oh, man, it's going to be a bloodbath, man. This is going to be 2 heavyweights slugging it out. I can't wait. It's going to be one for the ages, I believe. I really do.
See, I love that. See, you're part of the paparazzi now. This is why you're so good, Desmond. Save it for your employers. Save it for Saturday. Save it for Corso and Reese and everybody else. I understand. I get it. Save the gold. Save the gold. You don't have to cough it up here. But, okay.
All right.
But I understand. Yes, I'll be watching.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Desmond, thanks again.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
One of the best. Desmond Howard. At Desmond Howard on Twitter.
The Rich Eisen Show. Weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.